We're going to 3 podcasts starting this week.
Matt, I have bad news.
Oh, no.
There were 3 podcasts last week. Well,
Chris,
let's be plain, Matt. It was like 13 or 14 days ago.
So, Chris, I have an idea for our podcast. We're going to extend it to 2 a week, but what we're going to do is I'm going to write something and then read it.
Of the 3, Matt, the first from like 12 or 13 days ago, Ryan Russillo, 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 54 seconds. The second, a rewatchables with Joe House, mercifully 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 17 seconds. This is the one where you were thinking last week, these are actually going to be pretty brief. But no. The third, with Klosterman, 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 53 seconds. We'll get through it, Matt. In these uncertain times, you can rely on the Bill Simmons podcast.
Here we go.
Matt, on the Russillo podcast, Bill it up 1 second in.
Today's episode of the BS podcast.
It's the Bill Simmons podcast. And you want to know something funny? I got a tip. Makes it sound like we're professional people. I got a tip, I think, from Twitter. I think it was from Massa Capital, who said, hey, Bill is going to be on First Take this week. And I was like, I had no idea because I don't give a shit about what ESPN has on it if it's not a game. But I was glad he did. So I finally tuned in. And in the intro, the lady on First Take calls it the BS pod. And I was like, that's what you get, man. That's what you get. Ask Kleenex what it was like. They had to fight all those copyright things, man. That's why you always brand Bill Simmons podcast. At 53 seconds, this podcast is not brought to you by other podcasts.
We're also brought to you by a couple of new Ringer podcasts that we have.
False. Those podcasts are not bringing it to you. Those podcasts are just other podcasts he's promoting. Pearl Jam at 2:21. At 5:52, Matt, Bill tries to say that at a certain point in his public life, Michael Jordan became more guarded, or his guard went up. At least that's what I think. You be the judge.
And it from that moment on, I thought there was a little thing that went up with him, a little guard.
The context is comparing children's genital sizes, and Bill says a little thing went up with him, and then clarifies what I mean is a little guard. At 9:56, he means shift.
And that starts to shift in the 80s.
Wasn't Adam Schiff like a guy from the West Wing or something?
No, he was like the guy in the House who led the Trump impeachment proceedings.
So close. At 10:17, this Joe Bluth nominee.
Me, like the excuses he's using for...
That was more of an Elmer Fudd.
Oh, I kind of like it.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, but we got to come up. I wish I wouldn't have interrupted you. I wanted to hear Foghorn continue. Matt, there's one distinction that I feel really sticks out when Bill at 14:35 is talking about people who choose to be either a magic guy or a bird guy. See if you can spot what's missing.
You're either a magic guy or a bird guy. I think depending on where you live in the country and whether you like the Celtics more, Lakers more, or whatever.
It's something that Bill, as a white man and a Celtics fan and a Bird fan, would definitely not want to point out.
Yes.
At 15:43, unnecessary article.
Well, that game 6 was tough.
At 18:54, the first in what we must believe was a long string.
Well, the first time I didn't like you is I think I interviewed you once. It was like, do you think all 30 NBA coaches suck?
I wish we could have gotten, isn't that its own podcast? And I don't mean episode of a podcast. I mean, once a week, Russillo comes on and says, this is time number 37 when I did not like Bill Simmons. Matt, get out your thing clicker. Well, that sounds like, was your little guard up at 19:20?
Earlier in the thing, they did that Blazers thing and correctly make the point that, the Drexler thing, he took it personally.
It's one thing if you want to use a vague word to describe an otherwise inexplicable situation. But when you use it repeatedly, as Bill does, you just sound like you don't know what you're talking about. At 2015, my favorite Joe Bluth nominee, the Bale.
Jordan and Pippen are wiping the like Pippen's the best guard other than Jordan in the Dream Team.
It's almost like he wanted to say wiping the floor with them, and then he was like, some people might not get that. It's like he was the best.
I don't want to be too esoteric for the proletariat out there with only a single home. One thing you can't underrate, Matt, at 30 minutes and 4 seconds.
The height can't be underrated. The one time I went out with Brady,
It shouldn't be the height, right? It shouldn't be the unnecessary article for sure.
Yeah, it should be height can't be underrated in these scenarios. The problem is he doesn't bother to explain it. He just expects you from context to understand.
He's a communicator, but just not a clear one. At 33:45, this Buffalo Bill nominee.
I've also been fortunate enough to talk to a lot of people who know things over the last however many years.
Legit, what a surprise. Bill has insider information. At 33:56, this Swallow.
Been intrigued by it. I do think it adds up that.
Now, Matt, this is the most singularly offensive thing I can recall at 34:40. He's talking about Michael Jordan's father.
And then the thing with his dad, unquestionably fucked him up.
Yeah, let's reduce his dad's murder to thing. Now, there are some times when it's trivial or doesn't have any real meaning. But if you're talking about someone being murdered, you might want to think about being in any way respectful about the death of a loved one who was killed illegally and not call it the thing. At 34:57.
The only thing that made me think there was smoke to it.
Tell me if I'm wrong. The cliche is where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right.
Or you don't want any of this smoke. You don't say there's smoke to a theory to suggest that it seems like it might be legitimate, right?
Yeah,
I mean, do you?
It's just like him making up a colloquialism.
You think it's going to catch on, like fetch? At 35:20, possibly out of context theater about a thing.
And Stern was reaming him about the thing.
He was reaming him.
I think thing is basically Bill Simmons' Smurf.
Okay.
Try to listen to the amount of times he says, well, the other piece or another piece. Piece has become a new crutch for him.
Yeah.
I believe that more than the conspiracy piece.
At 36:57, this laughter. Better slow down. At 37 minutes, this laughter.
It's CIA and the mafia.
Yeah, slow that down, baby.
CIA and the mafia.
At 37:29, this Joe Bluth nominee.
That was another piece of why MJ was like, fuck this. Now I'm going to get suspended for, like, who knows if that's true or not true, but.
Bail. He's going to get suspended for who knows. Matt, this is the best hint of the week from Bill. He knows something, but he doesn't want to tell you what it is, but he's an inside guy.
I'll leave it at that.
Care to elaborate?
I'll leave it at that.
And don't bring it up. At 39:48, this Swallow.
To connect over a few beers, it's a little tougher when you can't be with your people.
Man, maybe figure out a way that if you're selling a product that you actually do consume by swallowing, to work the swallow into the ad. Otherwise, give Miller Lite what they're paying for, which is a swallow-free commercial.
Yeah, I like that idea. It's just act like you're drinking a Miller Lite.
Matt, what do you think Bill loved more than anything else over the years?
Oof. Respect.
Nope, try again.
Spotify money.
Closer. Now, one more guess about what Bill loves over anything else over the years.
Things.
Here's the actual answer at 40:29.
The reason I've loved this beer over anything else over the years.
Not family, not friends, not even money or his 7 houses.
This
Miller
beer.
Lite, which is his favorite beer, but only when he was younger
Yes. In college when he enjoyed shitty things.
and was poor.
But Miller Lite will take your money too.
Yes, Miller Lite makes him rich. He just doesn't drink it. At 41:15, I don't think this is impromptu.
It was an impromptu birthday party arranged by her best friend.
Now, Matt, I looked up impromptu.
Yeah.
Made, done, or formed on or as if on the spur of the moment.
You can't arrange for something if it's impromptu.
Maybe it's that as if, like so they
Now, see-
faked as if it were a spur of the moment party, but it wasn't, and that's
Now,
legit.
I think this is the only way it works, Chris. It's not the birthday party that was impromptu. It's the arranging of the birthday party that was impromptu. So she was
I
sitting
see.
around her house, and then she was like, I'm going to plan a birthday party. That was what was impromptu.
Yeah,
That's the
and
only
then-
way it works.
That's very good, Matt. Nice apologia. At 42:01, he means masks with a K.
We're all wearing masks. We're standing in the fucking lawn.
Oh no, he did get the K. He didn't just get the S that makes mask plural. Masks. He just said, we're all wearing mask. Then we go downstream. Fight corn people.
Corn people.
I was trying to think what the other tribe was called in the caveman days.
And they were called the corn people.
Yes. At 43:38, a bail.
People in their house other than their and you just start.
The people that are going to be in their house do not include their I'm pretty sure Bill is just a genuine, certified, grade A American badass, man. And if you have any questions, listen at 4627.
If I have
Sammy Hagar
room in a highway, I'm going to go 90.
Get out of the way, old women and grocery getters. Bill's coming through because he's a fast driver like a cool man. 4714, unnecessary article.
Who are the lottery picks for the COVID?
What he immediately goes on to say is remarkably stupid. Listen to this phrasing at about 4718.
Who are the lottery picks for the COVID? Where they're like, oh, that, and there's just certain people, they're going to be like, oh my God, a nursing home, they're just going to clean through that.
They, assuming he means the COVIDs, are going to clean through a nursing home.
Yes. Those old people, just going to raise them.
It's all those COVIDs are going to clean through it.
The individual COVIDs.
Yes. Man, I wish he was in archery. It would make sense actually at 4924, talking about his arsenal. Or an arsenal.
Every single day, there's new information or information we thought we knew goes out the window, and it's like, yeah, that thing you thought, that's out. That throw that away. Take that out of your arsenal.
Oh yeah, Matt. Just in case you're wondering, what he's taking out of his arsenal is information that he thought he knew. In this case, the arsenal is a brain full of thought weapons.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
At 5108, how patriotic.
I guess it helps the spirit of Americans.
That is to say, it's patriotic in as much as what is he talking about? Matt, I would hate to be one of the parties in this apparently foul-smelling conversation at 5110.
It's the fact that we'd have shit to talk to.
We'd have shit to talk to? Matt
snorted.
Wait, that's going to get trouble. The Bill Simmons podcast. We'll definitely murder you for that. Why would he want to talk to shit? It's terrible. I guess it's not that he wants to. It's that he's forced to. He has to talk to
no
according to him. At 5114, etc.
Et cetera.
At 5116, unnecessary article.
Economically, there's no real advantage for the basketball to come back.
Sometimes it sounds better than others. When will the basket? It's like you said, your grandmother who's like talking to you about like, what are you going to do? There's nothing for you to do, right? Are you playing video games? Yeah. Well, when's the basketball going to come back?
Why don't you boys go down to the park and enjoy yourselves with the basketball? That's the Adam Sandler impersonation I've been working on since 1994. At 5205, this is a limited sort of Messiah.
It's a 10-week kind of savior.
I feel like, and I'm not a super religious guy, but I feel like I'd want the eternal one instead of the 10-week one.
It's not just 10-week. It's a 10-week kind of one.
I think the 10-week kind of savior is basically what you would call the Miller Lite of saviors.
It's a 10-week kind of savior.
At 5239, this swallow.
Point. Does that team get eliminated?
Unnecessary article at 5246.
Comes down to the COVID. So
at 5249, listen for how long the games will be postponed.
do we postpone all those games for 14 games?
Did you catch it, Matt?
That's the most games that the games could possibly be postponed for.
It's like Casey Stengel testifying. At 5337, this Joe Bluth nominee.
You'd have to use more days in the week. That'd be the save.
At 5758, this laughter.
Just that.
Ooh, extra sinister.
Just that.
At 10208, this laughter and snort.
Don't want to comment any snorts.
Matt, my favorite recent trend, 10951. It's all about time.
If you time machine LeBron and just threw him into 1962.
Time machine, now a verb. If you are a machinist, you use a machine to like mill a piece of metal or something. Okay. If you are a time machinist, you either mill a piece of time or you time machine mill.
No.
Okay. It's got to be the first one. Who knows? My notes at 11351 say, as many points as Poe.
I'm just scoring as many points. He usually made the right basketball play.
Bill was like, I am so fucking excited to say this next part. I'm not even going to finish this sentence.
At 11404, this swallow.
And then reacting. We had that happen to us.
At 11901, bail.
50% deserved in some cases, 70%. Iverson was another one.
Yes, bail.
Listen to what Bill says first at 11929.
do a modicum of homework.
It sounds like what he thinks people should do before they talk about a subject is what he would call a deep dive. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, listen to what he says a minute and 20 seconds later.
So that Warriors team, and I haven't really done the full deep dive on this.
You think that stops him from going ahead and talking about it?
Nope.
How many games do you think you can potentially play in the NBA Finals in any given year, Matt?
Probably 7.
That would be the most I would think as well. Things were different a few years ago at 121-14.
They went 67-15, and they went 12-1 in the finals.
It's impressive.
To play a 23-game final series is insane. And the fact they only dropped a single game, which means that they had to have won at least 5 on the road in that final series. At 122-31, welcome back.
If you're just pulling the Bulls out of a time machine.
Yes, please. At 124-25, a swallow, and then listen to what Bill's talking about.
And I'm always going to fight that. I'm a who's greatest thing.
He is a who's greatest thing at 125-09, unnecessary article.
That the Golden State literally gets no calls for the entire game.
At 128-13, this laughter. At 132-07, a swallow piece.
Well, just one other piece. This is the only time.
At 132-35, this swallow.
Bill Wennington, Kukoc, and Judd Buechler were their big guys.
That sounded like a drinking swallow. I assume kombucha, as always. At 143-31, back again.
It's true. He maybe he came from a time machine.
What is his deal? At 155-09, Bill fondly remembers a shot to the genitals.
And that nut punch is still way up there.
Way up where?
Oh, by the way, did you hear Jordan say nut crunching time?
Yeah, we're going to leave that
Maybe
out.
that's where Bill learned it.
He famously saw that documentary when it was one DVD a few years ago. So my guess is he picked it up from Jordan then when he saw it that other time before everybody else got to. At 155-33, this laughter. At 208-11, multiple swallows.
When he's not, he misses a couple shots, and Doug Collins doing the game. He's like,
man, oh man, just take a break or something, right?
You eat a peanut butter sandwich or something?
Yeah. At 212-05, unnecessary article.
The 2014, that Spurs Heat series.
All right, listen to this at 216-17.
We're going to do a couple more because this is really the last sports we have.
We'll be back after this.
I would say the reason why they'd want it passed is to keep baseball going as the highest baseball sport that has gone into baseball, and from the baseball angle. I'm not going to speak of any other sport.
Matt, we use Anchor.fm for the Bill Simmons podcast. Anchor.fm allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and it's free. Anchor will not only let you record and edit, you can also distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more through Anchor. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, which is handy for the Bill Simmons podcast. Anchor.fm has everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. Why don't you boys go down to the park and play some bat? Oh,
That doesn't work.
all right, only 2 more left.
Oh, God.
Matt, on the second pod of last week, this is the mercifully quick one with House talking about stuff 6 seconds in. Listen to this ad read.
During this time of change, we want you to know that ZipRecruiter's focus hasn't changed.
He goes out of his way 6 seconds in to say that ZipRecruiter's focused hasn't changed.
Focused.
Just do it over, dude. 43 seconds in, this botch.
To apply to your most urgent roles.
Which roles? Most urgent.
Most urgent.
By the way, most urgent is when you have a very moist morsel that needs to go into your mouth. I'm thinking about something from a very nice brownie. Matt, is games a singular word or a plural word?
That's plural.
All right, let's see if it's used right here at 225.
A really good Magic Bulls games from 96 that we watched.
A good games. Pearl Jam at 234. Listen to this English language, Matt, at 352.
Older NBA aficionados like House and myself are realizing.
Here's the list of NBA aficionados. House and myselves. Either he thinks, oh no, I need to make myself plural, or possessive. NBA aficionados belonging to myself. This is him talking about the Celtics at 8:14.
You have a really good Celtics team that was started out season 29-5.
Squeeze it in there.
At 10:20, this Swallow.
You know, it's just the league was deeper and better.
And then at 10:25, noises.
This isn't like an old guy. Oh, this is back. It's just, it's a fact.
Have you ever heard about one of those tours, Matt, that stays in one place?
No, never heard of this.
That's why at 13:02 it seems so bizarre that he had to say this.
It was like a traveling tour.
The traveling tour.
Now, Matt, have you heard of an approval rating?
Yes.
Do people vote on approval ratings?
There's generally like polls.
Well, what if everybody votes for the same approval rating?
I guess it would be unanimous.
I guess it would, Matt, at 14:53.
They just had a unanimous approval rating.
Yeah, you can't have a unanimous approval rating. That is the point. You could be unanimously approved.
Yes.
You can't have everyone agree approval
rating.
I mean, I guess you could, like, everybody's like, his approval rating is 7. Does everyone agree? All in favor of a 7 approval rating? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. It's a unanimous 7. Maybe that's what he means?
Yeah, everybody agrees that's what it is.
At 18:10.
All we knew from Jordan was the commercials and...
Again, it's just the wrong word. We didn't know that from Jordan. We knew it about Jordan.
About Jordan or of Jordan.
Yes. I don't even know what this is at 22:08.
A 2-season, 20-month concert stretch that spanned...
A 20-month concert stretch? Maybe if he means a 20-month constant stretch? This is one of those things where we say we have some concern for his neurological health.
Did he have a stroke?
At 26:34, the talking continues.
This is a 47-game team somehow.
That team somehow, Matt, in an 82-game NBA season, got to 47 games played.
Games.
At 33:49, listen to Bill search for an analogy, and then listen to what he decides on.
Where he's just dropping 55 like he's putting a cough drop in his mouth or something.
Oh, man, it's so easy to drop 55 points on these fools. It's like a cough drop. Isn't that part of popular culture?
Everybody associates that with ease.
The ease of popping a cough drop. He says the word drop, and then he's like, well, I got to use some phrase that includes drop. Cough drop, obviously. And that's why he is in the halls of fame.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
You were the whole thing just to get there.
At 37:19, this Joe Bluth nominee.
Beginning to, from an Apex standpoint,
At 37:31, unnecessary article.
with the Horace Grant athleticism, could do 80% what Rodman could do.
At 40:38, Joe Bluth nominee and unnecessary article.
Because the Pippen really reminds me of Quiet.
To go from a Joe Bluth nominee to an unnecessary article and then both. This guy is at the apex. 43:32.
The stuff he does in the Orlando game we're about to talk to, I think, is one of the reasons.
Do you think they're about to talk to a game, Matt?
Well, the game, he's on the line. So, Orlando game, what do you think?
It's better than at 43:50, the unnecessary article again.
With the Pippen Jordan, like,
How does he not say the Pippen Jordan thing? He could have said duo. He could have said team. You know, he could have said combo, but at least say thing. Nope, the Pippen Jordan.
Nope.
Listen to Bill's mastery of wildlife at 43:54.
it was honestly Wild Kingdom. It was watching two cheetahs size up the shitty deer in the pack.
You know those cheetahs that deer?
Cheetahs are skilled hunters. They will immediately seize upon the shitty deer. At 52:43, this Joe Bluth nominee.
The team that, you got it, and now I'm going to guard him.
At 101:10, this Joe Bluth nominee.
Kind of lose focus a little bit. They lose game 4. All of a sudden it's a game 6.
At 103:40, swallow.
Those Spurs teams are really great. I think you can make a case.
At 105:25, laughter, and then bad branding.
That's it for the BS Pod.
We'll be right back after this.
Tasted it.
Matt, as always, we want to thank the people that support us monetarily, not the people that support us emotionally, because honestly, emotional support doesn't pay the bills the way Josh N., Jeff G., Scott B., Sean, and our friends at College Football Brothers Podcast support us with money. They do it through Patreon, patreon.com/bspodpod. You can also support us as David P. and Scott B. do through Anchor. That's anchor.fm/bspodpod. David, as we always say, you're giving us too much money. Also, I think Scott B. is possibly giving us money through Anchor and Patreon. Scott, it's not worth it. Thank you very much to our producers. Here are all the things Bill and his guests found delicious in the last week. Or just funny sounds.
Yeah.
And see how
None.
But they're different.
Met on the third and final pod of however many days or months or weeks ago it was. Bill had on Chuck Klosterman to talk about a bunch of bullshit again. 0 seconds in, bad branding.
Today's episode of the BS Podcast.
At 41 seconds, remember how he said focused when he should have said focus on the last pod?
I do.
This is its sequel.
Committed to helping our workforce.
It's the same
Like a
company.
sausage.
Our work forced. Were you doing that work of your own volition? Well, I don't want to say anything, but actually, no. At 151, Matt, think about what directors do as you listen to this.
After every Billions episode on Sunday night on Showtime and giving the director's commentary, which they've earned because they're the showrunners and co-creators.
You don't, first of all, you don't earn a director's commentary. You are a director, and then you do a director commentary, which is great, unless you're these two guys who are not directors. I feel like the Directors Guild, the DGA, used to get involved. They're like, hang on a second, we don't mind you guys doing commentary. Hell, it sounds like you know a lot about the show, but it can't be called director's commentary because you're not directing shit. Matt, at 227, Bill has decided that he will bless us by reading something out loud that he wrote in February of 2018.
This is an article that Bill wrote. On more than one occasion, he pronounces the word homicidal.
The homicidally competitive Jordan. The most homicidally competitive athlete.
Matt, that's what it's called when you kill someone's residence.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going somewhere else with it.
At 1027, it sounds like it's a weird Al Bundy thing.
And let me tell you, my man MJ didn't like that.
Did he call, in his bad Stuart Scott impersonation, did he call MJ my ma'am?
My man.
Is there ever a good time for a white man to try and sound like a black man?
At 1311, Matt, I feel like you will know what he's talking about here and know why it's wrong.
Others around Jordan believe mitigating circumstances played a much bigger role.
Matt, do you know what mitigating means?
I do. Yeah.
To cause to become less harsh or hostile. To make less severe or painful. Were there circumstances in 1998 that did either of those things? No.
No.
Maybe he means extenuating and just thought, well, it's a word that ends with ting. At 1807, another legal issue that he gets wrong.
Not the White Chocolate Williams, the one who accidentally murdered his chauffeur.
Murder, always hilarious. But of course, you can't accidentally murder someone, Matt, because you have to have intent to kill. Perhaps you can accidentally manslaughter someone, but you can't accidentally murder somebody. You dumbass. Not you, Matt. I'm calling Bill the dumbass.
I got it. Yeah, because I know what murder is.
At 2255, this swallow.
Indiana, West Virginia. And now,
At 2321, this botch.
BS. Now the legal stuff. 21 plus and present.
If you're getting paid by FanDuel, maybe you should try to get it right. At 2407, this Joe Bluth nominee.
You're up there. You're in the inner circle of people that love it the most. You bet. I mean,
Got it. At 2710, this unnecessary article.
because they went into it a little bit in the 2 hour yesterday.
He's talking about a 2-hour episode of Survivor, which he calls the 2 hour.
2 hour.
Matt, usually we do not take shots at guests, but we're going to toll that practice for this episode because listen at 2848 as Chuck Klosterman tries to say the word savannah.
And almost like a desert savanna.
Robot judges?
Savannah.
He's wrong.
It sounds like the way like some shitty stripper would pronounce it.
At 4152, Bill says wide world of sports a couple times.
When Ali was on Wide World of Sports, when I started watching Wide World of Sports.
I don't know. This doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah.
Matt, have you ever been reverential?
I'm sure at some point.
Matt, you went to a Bible college. Yeah, or
right,
like you
fine.
had to go to church or whatever, right?
Yeah, sure. Chapel.
Matt. I can see your halo from here. Anyway, Bill says it wrong.
I didn't go enough and got in trouble.
Yeah, probably from doing a bunch of on the girls.
No.
At 42:26, Bill uses the wrong preposition.
We had like a reverence to the Ali thing.
Doesn't he mean for
reference.
the Ali thing?
Yeah.
Listen as Bill slowly circles around the fact that he did not listen to what Chuck was talking about, or maybe understand, at 44:13.
I think Jordan was better in whatever question you're throwing at me.
That's so great. He's basically like this. I think Jordan's the best. Well, what about this thing? I don't have time to listen to you, Chuck. But whatever it is, Jordan was better.
I think it's more like this. You lost me 15 seconds in, but it doesn't matter. Jordan's still the best. More issues with genealogy, Matt, at 44:59.
I would say LeBron was slightly better because it was more of his DNA than it was for Jordan.
Now, even if he's going to belabor this terrible DNA comparison thing that he likes to do, he should have said it was more in his DNA. But it was more of his DNA?
It was more of his DNA.
It suggests that there's a pile of DNA somewhere, and LeBron, or possibly Jordan, I'm not sure which, had a bigger pile of DNA, and that's what made him better. At 46:24, this Joe Bluth nominee.
And with Jordan, I remember like
At 47:14, thing.
I just know living through the Jerry Rice thing was
At 52:09, this swallow.
and the way the game is played has changed absolutely everything.
At 52:20, this swallow.
And Jim Rice had 46 homers that year.
At 115:58, more about genes.
I've spent every chromosome in my body.
First of all, you don't do that with chromosomes. Even if you did, how would you do that and survive? It's just craziness. Matt, at 119:07, is he referring to the act I think he's referring to?
I'm really bareboned right now.
No, he's talking about the fact that he's scaled back on who he's listening to or following on Twitter.
I thought it had to do with like the radius of a large mammal.
What?
Barebone.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right. The radius or ulna you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah, you're right. I should have used ulna because radius could be like a measurement thing.
I was like, the radius of a large mammal. So if you go from the center to the outside of the circle of the bear's stomach. Now, again, we don't tend to make fun of the guests, but we are going to continue to do that for Chuck Klosterman for this Joe Bluth nominee at 120.52.
But I don't. It's this. Every people will bring forward ideas on how to deal with this.
I actually blame Bill for not cutting that out.
Yeah, I was going to say, good looking up cousin Kyle for just boning this guy, bare boning him, as it were.
That went on for like a good 3 or 4 seconds.
Well, stay tuned. But first, at 123.25.
If it happens, it will be because of all the money at stake for the owners of the networks and to the players to a lesser degree.
So money is at stake, A, for the owners, B, for the networks, and C, to the players.
What's the point of sports coming back other than to save the money from the people? And
Are they going to save money from the people?
All the money are nervous that they're going to get spent, and someone needs to save them from the people. Now, I'm not sure how bringing sports back would do that, but that's what Mrs. Simmons is thinking.
He's in 2046.
Look, I'm not explaining the rationale. I'm just talking about what we're getting at here.
At 124.13, this is all one word.
make it seem like life's more normal.
That was life's returning to normal. At 127.52, don't get me started on science. I'm Bill Simmons.
Well, that's why they've been saying it's like, it's almost like a virus you would create in a lab to fuck with society the most possible.
Isn't it part of the zeitgeist now that everybody's going around saying it is like a virus you would create in a lab to fuck with society the most possible?
The most.
He was just like, man, what did I say 3 seconds ago? I'm not going to be able to finish this. At 135.18, one more Chuck Klosterman, Joe Bluth nominee for the road.
You can't be like, I mean, I guess the fundamental question.
It's so good, man. It's like watching somebody fall down a flight of stairs, and it turns out the flight of stairs is 3 times as long.
See, one of two things has to happen. Either Bill has to be like, all right, we're moving on, or Chuck has to be like, you know what? I'm just not going to get there. Can we skip this?
Well, actually, there's a third option, which is that a respectful producer, editor, engineer is like, you know what? I'll just take all that bullshit out.
You're right. That's the third option.
136.43.
Like, there's a lot of people out there who are probably it's conceivable I might start talking to a volleyball stage of this a couple months away.
Now, if he had just said, it's conceivable I might start talking to a volleyball stage of this.
Right.
What is a couple months away? Why does he decide to add these weird adjective clauses?
Well, I'm not sure if he's trying to say because we're a couple months into this, or if he's saying like, look, right now we're a couple months into this. If we get a couple months more into this, people might start reaching that stage with the volleyball.
The volleyball. At 141.46, bad branding.
The BS podcast with Rosillo.
Matt, I hope you stay safe. I hope you stay well.
I'll try.
It's the Bill Simmons podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
Glass phone.
What's the cat?
Yeah, you can hear him. Yeah. Dude, you got to get out of here. I know. Man, oh man, the time machine content is really going through the roof.
We've had somebody's been time machined, somebody's been pulled out of a time machine, and now this gentleman has come from a time machine.
And you can always tell because they have those.
Who would say it? Like, who would say it like that? Because like the implication is he's from either the future or the past, right? Almost definitely the future, because I don't know how somebody from the past would come forward in a time machine. But if you said, "Hey, that guy looks like he came from a time machine," what you're saying is that guy is from a different time. Yes. I don't know why it's important that he came from the time machine.
You think it might make more sense to say, looks like that guy came from the future.
Yes.
As opposed to, look at the guy over there that looks like he's got some sort of time traveling device or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Did you say something about sausage?
Yeah, like a wurst.
Oh God! I was thinking where like if you were making sausage and you had to force the meat in there, and then you're making sausage
if you're making sausage, you have to force the meat in there. It's going to mess the casings up.
And this has been Matt's Out of Context Theater. Matt, an Italian expert on forcing sausage.